Hey friends, Adriano here for your Elevate Your Real Estate channel. Today we're gonna be talking about the last part of our three-part series on your Do You Know Your Worth, the listing playbook. And I have a special guest with me. I have one of our top listing agents in the organization, Madeline Wen.
Hi guys.
So as we get into this last phase, we're going to be getting into the nuts and bolts of what will constitute the closing and handling the objections. And so guys, let's go ahead and get right into it. So guys, today, as part of this final series on the listing playbook, we are going to go over the closing and handling the objections. And so if we have done a very good job on attaching and adhering and staying within the process of what we've discussed here in the last two episodes, namely gathering as much intelligence, gathering as much information out of our seller clients, ensuring that we understand their emotional needs along with the logisticals of making the transition into a new place. And as we visit them, now we are able to also get a little more insight as far as how the property looks, and also we get a little more insight on the actual condition of it, and potentially what will be a recommendation as to what will be the next step on prepping the property. Still connecting with those clients, bringing a lot of familiarity in the language. We articulate our value and we share recommendations, and now we're into that final cue of the finale, right? Which in an orchestra basically is the part of the whole composition that brings everything together when you're going to have the audience, clapping, be very excited about what they just witnessed. And so that very part is gonna be our closing. And so Madeline, what I'm curious to know is that since you've worked with quite a bit of families, mm-hmm. right? And nowadays, I believe you're taking 2 to 3 listings a week,
yep.
right? And so what happens during this phase of closing? Mm-hmm. Meaning, what is our demeanor? What is our body language doing mm-hmm. to finally lead these clients with full confidence that you are the person who they should be doing business with?
It's a great question, Adriano. So what I realized going through the whole process, and if you're coming to the closing table and they still have objections, that tells me one of two things. One, that I wasn't clear as to what my objectives are, and two is just I need to build more rapport with them. I need to understand what their needs are and how I will be the best person to help service their needs. So digging deeper into those conversations definitely helps the closing become a lot smoother, and them being more comfortable for choosing us as the team to list their home.
Also, very good observation, guys. And on this very last process, let's keep in mind, guys, that the whole thing is just a process of leadership, right? So the sellers are counting on you leading the way, and the leading the way, just as much as you see in a movie, it involves engagement of your body, right? It evokes and involves emotions, because emotions create ultimately energy, and energy creates action. And so you guys, we need to be involved with our body. We need to lead them into ultimately what they will do, which is signing on the dotted line.
Exactly.
Right? And if we have actually done a very good job, as Madeline just shared with us, in recognizing and understanding at a deeper level what those emotional needs are, what those strategic and logistic needs are, and we articulate that in a very good way so that they see very clearly, right, exactly why they will be hiring her, then there is no question in their mind as to why they would not have the business ready for Madeline to now take it home, right? And so with this, so if there are objections, right? If there are objections as far as what we are anticipating, if we haven't really done a good job, through the entire conversation or presentation. So what does it mean? How do we go about that process, Madeline, when we start getting objections back in? Objections might be manifested. What kind of objections do you get, if any?
Yeah, great question. So some very common objections would be in the pricing of their home, or it might be, the timeline as to when they want to move. Those are two very common objections. And so in order to get in front of that, we just go back to square one as to why we were at the property in the beginning, what their motivations are, and if the timeline makes sense with what their goals are, then we just revisit those and discuss them together and create a clear path for them moving forward.
Awesome. So we go back again into the very things for which they wanted you to be present that day, that time. We go through a process of discovery to see exactly what is that concern, because that concern is actually something likely that hasn't been clear.
Right.
And that's where you get the objections. Sometimes the objections, as Madeline just shared, they might also be manifested on, hey, I need to interview other agents. I want this price and I'm not gonna go below this price. It might be, how much commission are you gonna charge me and are you going to cut your commission? So all of those things, guys, are a manifestation of the lack of trust or the lack of clarity as to, in this case, why Madeline is in front of them, which is that lack of value. I don't see the value here, right? And sometimes it just manifests in different ways. And so within that scenario, this rediscovering, going back into rediscovering, going back into that discovery process to ensure that we are really getting to the bottom of what they will need to accomplish. And as we go and handle these objections, we are bridging back rapport, right? And so how does that flow within that whole interaction? When you go and have these conversations with clients, you can probably share a story or some of the things that you've been dealing with lately.
Yeah. So my last appointment, we went to go see the home, and originally they wanted to list their home in August, but the market has shifted so rapidly so when we started discussing what their goals are, what they wanted for the property, building that rapport as to, why are they moving out of state in the first place was to get closer to family. That was really important to them.
So hold on, this was actually a client who you visited who was intending to do the listing their property on August.
Right.
And then we visited them just recently.
Yes.
In the month of May, early May, right? And then what happened next?
Yeah, so after we, discussed exactly what's happening in the market, bringing them facts and also relating into, leaning into why they're moving to their family in August, it just made more sense to actually list their home sooner. So we're getting all the preparations done tomorrow, actually, and we're going to be listing in the month of May so that their goals are, aligned with what they want. And so bringing that clarity to them, it really helped smooth out the process, going to the closing table.
Terrific. So we handle an objection likely because there was no clarity on the articulation of our value or even the recommendations that we were laying out on the table. And then we bridge back into rapport, right? So we go into that discovery process. And then we go back into the closing with confidence. So what does that mean, Madeline? So does it mean that I am going to go there and then just close hard on them, pound on them? Hey, I need your signature. Let's get this started. I'm gonna get you top dollars. How does that flow? Like, what does closing with confidence mean?
Closing with confidence doesn't mean you have to be very aggressive or make them do what you want to do. That's not what confidence and closing with confidence means. It just means that you guys are both aligned as to what the goals are, and the confidence in the closing is bringing that value to them and making sure that they know that you're going to be the person to guide them throughout the whole process. Because people who come to us and ask for expertise, they don't know exactly what the process looks like. So us bringing them clarity and being able to close with confidence, it just shows how much value we bring to them.
Terrific. Now you mentioned something that is very key, out of this finale on the closing with confidence, and that is alignment, right? So alignment actually is a product of empathy and is also a product of values. And guys, so for the most part, the clients that we represent are just people like ourselves. They also have a story. But more importantly, they are actually looking for someone just like them that represents their value. And for the most part, as we're working with these families, they don't necessarily do business with us on the things that we said to them, though on how we make them feel when we are presenting, sharing recommendations, and ultimately how we're able to package the whole thing together so that there is no question in their mind that we are the ones to support them through their transition. So with this, we're going to be uploading a document that will help us get more clarity on the closing and also the objection handlers with more scenarios that you guys can start implementing. In fact, we're actually going to be creating more episodes as far as how this dynamics works. For the meantime, we want you guys to follow us through all the social media platforms, like us in Instagram, Facebook. Make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube channel and stay tuned. And I'll see you on our next episode, episode 7 of Do You Know Your Worth. See you soon.
Bye, guys.